A Quake mod in the current year, eh? Don't good mods for Quake 1 and 2 come out like once every 8 months? Or on a rare occasion? Well, a mod that isn't a fucking HD texture pack. Although I did enjoy playing the Epsilon remaster with the alternate soundtrack that has more of a KNFDM and Nine Inch Nails sound, which I hate to say was better than the original soundtrack that Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails did for the game. The original Quake has been my all-time favourite nostalgic fast-paced FPS of the mid-90s, developed by ID Software and produced by GT Interactive. Not only is it running on the first 3D engine that revolutionised first-person shooters to what they are today, it has been responsible for popularising the multiplayer for what it is today, with the community creating whatever mod they can make right out of Quake's source code. The most famous one being Team Fortress, which later evolved into a Half-Life mod and into an official sequel developed by Valve. Quake was one of these types of games that I would play with my dad when I was like, I don't know, 3 years old? And yes, again, I can still get more enjoyment out of Quake, much more than I can get with other games these days. Much more than Doom to an extent, due to its grim H.P. Lovecraft influenced environment and atmosphere, and mostly due to how everything stood out with its creative mechanics and how it pushed its limits around the time, when people would be referring to other FPS as Doom clones. In before some spurg from 4chan's V-board come to the video stating that how I'm a 30-year-old boomer who plays Quake because ha ha ha, big funny hexty. But hey, I mean, I guess that's just me when it comes to the old school FPS titles in general. Yes, I know that you can do things in the build engine such as crouching, interacting with objects by pressing a button, something that was not in the Quake engine, but I still like Quake more because I'm biased and fuck you, that's why. Despite adoring the game as an all-time favourite, there is a mod that has been finally released that captures the success of the original whilst cranking that shit up to 100. Equivalent to that one kid's edgy room, which is pimped out with the epic gaming setup and walls full of posters of his favourite satanic bands. And that mod is Quake 1.5. Is it any good? Let's find out, shall we? Quake 1.5 was once a weapons / improved gore mod that was just average and mediocre at best, until it evolved into one of the best mods that has came out this year, combining the likes of Core, aka the first quote-unquote brutal Quake, and Arcane Dimensions with some new levels and enemies. Then you got yourself a full-fledged remake of the original Quake with blackjack and hookers. Right off the bat, you would notice that how some of the original levels from all 4 episodes have been remade with new mechanics and lightning. Well, the sci-fi levels being the ones that stood out were honestly my favourite. On E1M1, you would see that everything has gone to shit as you watch as the grunts kill off the remaining soldiers, with sounds borrowed from Quake 2's first mission. But not as brutal as the carnage you would be spraying with many different types of weapons with various gory death animations. Especially the weakest melee weapons being the axe and the chainsaw, which I guess can be useful when gibbing zombies whilst you're out of ammo. I don't know how I can separate Core from Quake 1.5's gore mechanics and the player's interactivity besides from the mighty kick. You now have the ability to throw proximity grenades, pretty much like every other brutal mod in existence. Well, I mean, I'm still waiting for a brutal Duke Nukem and a brutal Blood mod to be released anytime soon. Or Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. TikTok, TikTok. Some areas are filled with enemies from Arcane Dimensions, Beast Diary, some of them being clones of Shrek and Shining Armor, reskinned knights and autistic students in the special ed class, who constantly use DeviantArt 24/7. Some spawners are randomized to the point where a Shambler can be replaced with another demon who casts fireballs. Sometimes I see that as a good thing, considering that the Shamblers are the biggest fucking bullet sponges that this game has to offer with their undodgeable Thunderbolt cast. Well, kind of reducing the amount of Shamblers. Well, sort of. The double barrel shotgun is the weapon that's going to be the most effective amongst most enemies due to the increased damage. Oh, and the obvious redesign that's straight from Quake Champions. I'm assuming this is the Hyper Blaster, which was brought right out of Scourge of Armageddon, being the most powerful weapon besides from the Thunderbolt, which can make your enemies explode, with their guts burning. Something I loved using for the most part. Shame that you cannot use it as much due to how low the amount of cell ammo you would collect in the game. Thunderbolt gun can now make chains of lightning and make monsters go into suspended animation for 2 seconds until they blow up into little bite-sized fucking gut pieces. Fucking A. In some maps you would first encounter more deadly monsters that serve mostly as mini-bosses to this point. The finales of episodes 2 and 3 have been redone to the point where there will be another level added for a boss fight, instead of the typical boring finale of collecting the rune and just ending the episode. 2 of these bosses being the one giant Death Knight that has statue knights fighting beside it. The Vor Mother, I don't know what they call it, a fucking Vor though, I think it's called a Vorling, that has birth control so bad to the point where she can rapidly shout newborn baby eggs every 2 or 5 seconds with the aftermath of a bloody vagina. You know, talk about miscarriage of the day, folks. And the Caphon, who is much more challenging than before to this point, where he is more of a cunt than ever before, making the original boss fight a fucking cakewalk in comparison. Which I would have to say is a good thing, since it really tested my fucking patience, as it can break down walls, make inferno fires right through the floor tiles, oh, and it can also spit fire. Later on in the game, you get to travel your way through a monster's butthole and swim right out of its dickhole after placing C4s in its waist. Okay, all jokes aside, it's best to experience the final showdown with Shub-Niggurath. Fuck! Shub-Niggurath yourself. Does that still sound like I'm saying the N-word? I would have to say that episode 4's enemy placement is a bit of a huge fuck you due to when you first encountered the jumping blue parasites that came out of vagina with blue waffles.
Oh boy, I can't wait to see it. I know it'll make me want to fuck the zombified remains of the older bitch's pussy. I love blue waffles.
Normally it's easy to just kill them at first glance than just fight these exploding turds for more than 5 seconds after you encounter them. Because a room full of spawns bouncing and exploding in your face, fuck that shit though, honestly, fuck these fucking abortions though. Fuck these fucking blue bouncing fucking abortions. Fuck them. Fuck them. A room full of spawns bouncing and exploding in your face. Because that's fair, right? Luckily enough, you can kill multiple spawns by killing them with your Thunderbolt that also makes multiple chains of lightning, which isn't saying much since it only does half the damage of the Thunderbolt itself. Well, this is what happens when you advertise movies about having a bone to pick with necrophilia, Tim Burton, because you'll give birth to something as inbred as this. Also, I do not want to know what is inside your vagina. Probably maggots. Just a recommendation, don't look up fucking Rule 34 of Corpse Bride. I dare you to look it up if you're into necrophilia. And it kind of sucks since the maps of episode 4 have their best design, episode 1 being the most memorable. Episodes 2 and 3 do include a secret level that is accessible on certain levels, 2 of them having the sci-fi setting with the level design that reminds me a bit of Quake 2 and Half-Life combined. Also, kicking enemies off the train was pretty fun too. I heard that this mod was going to be ported to other engines such as Quake Spasm and Fitzquake in the near future, as well as multiplayer, which is still being worked on by improving the stability. Oh, and you can also swing with a grappling hook and play with bots, which is a mechanic that isn't included in 90% of the time in multiplayer games today. Tell me any online game today that would normally have the inclusion of bots. Oh wait. Overall, this would be considered the Quake sequel that you'll never get. Sure, there is obviously things to be worked on, such as bugs to be fixed in a single player as well as the multiplayer due to this mod being in beta. I'm not sure if the creator of this mod is planning to do the same thing for its 3 add-on packs, such as the one with the Abysto and also the first 2 being Skirmish Armageddon and the one with the Entity though. I can't remember its name though. It's hard to pronounce though. Since the map pack by Machine Games, which was released around, like 3 years ago from now though, was slightly redone to fit the narrative. But I would love to see the add-on maps remade like this in the near future as everything progresses. Final verdict, I would have to give this mod a solid 9 out of 10. If you have the time to play or even wonder what a remake of the original with the inclusion of the brutal mechanics would be like, then you won't be disappointed. So even if you have a potato or a piece of shit of a PC that cannot run shit, well it is if you turn down the settings to the lowest settings possible I guess, I'll recommend checking it out. ...